What had been in Compton's bag and caused the unpleasant smell was an ordinary cheese-and-pickled-egg sandwich. I say ordinary, but not all cheese-and-pickled-egg sandwiches can knock you out with a single whiff. Now, this sandwich was extraordinary because of the length of time it had been in Compton's bag. His mum had put it in his lunchbox nearly 3 weeks earlier. But due to a rather complicated series of events that I shan't bore you with here, the lunchbox had been left forgotten at the bottom of Compton's school bag ever since. Forgotten, that is, until the moment that Strickland found it again. It took Strictly Strickland 5 days of complete bed rest to recover from the stinky bag incident, or stinkident, as it became known among the other teachers at St. Geoffrey's. In fact, seeing as how he taught science, Strictly Strickland should have been fascinated by the whole episode. The up and the down of it was that Compton's cheese-and-pickled-egg sandwich represented a huge breakthrough in the science of leaving a sandwich to its own devices. The previous record had been set in 1983 by the German scientist Helmut Schrödinger. Schrödinger had only managed to leave his sandwich unattended for 2.5 weeks before the army exploded it for being a danger to national security. In case you were wondering, Schrödinger's sandwich had been made using a bratwurst and cabbage filling. After school, it was Bryan who suggested that they should leave the sandwich for a bit longer, just to see what might happen. So they did exactly that. Safely behind the closed door of Compton's bedroom, Bryan put on a pair of yellow rubber washing-up gloves and some 3D movie glasses before finally placing a clothes peg firmly on his nose. He looked nervously at Compton, nodded, and then, using a fish slice that had been taped onto a very long stick, carefully took the revolting sandwich from Compton's lunchbox and passed it to Compton. Compton, wearing the fail-safe protective combination of a dressing gown on backwards, gardening gloves, and a welding mask, took the sandwich, wrapped it in a piece of foil, and placed it in an old shoebox. Using a thick black marker pen, he wrote, "Do not open for 10 weeks, on the lid of the box, and placed it at the back of his wardrobe. Pleased with their afternoon's work, Compton took off his gardening gloves and glanced out of his bedroom window. It was a lovely spring afternoon in Little Hadron. The only noise disturbing the peace was the shuffling and clanging of Drayton Mersley, the village window cleaner, heaving his ladder and bucket down the road. "Won't your parents be cross if they find the sandwich?" asked Bryan. Compton smiled to himself. His parents would never find out about the sandwich because they almost never came up to his bedroom. In fact, Compton hardly saw them at all. He saw his father briefly twice a day, once at breakfast before Mr. Valance went to work, and once when he came home before he went into his study to work on work that he couldn't finish at work. Compton saw his mother a bit more often, but she was usually busy in the evenings with her classes at the community centre. Mrs. Valance signed herself up for everything. In fact, that year alone she had done tea cosy knitting for beginners, hot yoga, cold yoga, wet yoga, egg yoga, salsa, massage, tea cosy knitting advanced, rocket science key stage 4, finger painting for adults, how to train your goldfish, tea cosy knitting expert, brain surgery for the over 35s, warfare through the ages, tea cosy knitting ridiculous, and edible plants, a guide to surviving in your own garden. In Morlock Cottage, it was understood that grown-ups and children don't mix. "Nah," said Compton, turning away from the window. "I don't think they'll notice." As the pair removed the last of their protective clothing, neither had any idea that from this moment on, their lives would never be the same again. They also didn't have any idea that the